The lobby was already bustling when Isaac arrived. Same time every weekday. 6:55 a.m. just before the attorneys started showing up when the floors were still shining from the overnight polish and the espresso machine had just begun its hum. He wore his navy uniform shirt name stitched in white thread. No one looked twice. Not the receptionist rehearsing her good mornings, not the interns darting toward the elevators. Isaac moved with the calm of someone used to being unseen. He walked through the glass doors, badge clipped to his belt, and nodded to the security guard who rarely nodded back. In one hand, he carried a maintenance clipboard. In the other, a keyring heavy with access. Most assumed he was just there for repairs, but today was different. He paused near the central conference room on the 21st floor where the firm's senior partners were set to meet at 8 o'clock sharp. He glanced once through the glass. Polished oak table. Leather chairs. A whiteboard with bullet points already scribbled in red marker. The words at the top, budget cuts, janitorial/support staff. Isaac didn't flinch. He simply took a seat on a nearby bench, clipboard balanced on one knee, and waited. At 7:12, the first senior partner arrived. Elliot Drummond. Late 50s. Charcoal suit. Shoes that clicked with every step. He didn't notice Isaac until he was practically next to him. Drummond paused, frowning. That bench is for clients, not staff. Isaac looked up, slow and quiet. Just waiting for someone. Drummond's eyes narrowed, taking in the uniform, the key ring. Facilities, he asked. Not unkind, just dismissive. Well, best not to linger here. We've got a partner meeting in less than an hour. I know, Isaac said. Calm. Drummond hesitated, caught off guard by the directness. Right? Well, if there's a spill or something, please check with building management next time before waiting up here. This floor's private access. Isaac didn't respond. Just nodded once, eyes steady. Drummond shifted, clearly uncomfortable, then turned and entered the conference room, shaking his head. Behind the glass, Isaac saw him loosen his tie and start arranging folders. The clipboard on Isaac's knee was still closed. He wasn't here for maintenance. He was here to be seen, just long enough to be misjudged. By 7:25, 3 more partners had arrived. One nodded at Isaac without breaking stride. Another whispered something to a colleague, followed by a glance his way. Laughter, short and quiet, followed. No one asked him his name. From inside the room, voices grew louder, talk of layoffs, non-essential roles, and a vague mention of cleaning services being outsourced to save costs. No one closed the glass door. Isaac stayed on the bench. A young associate walked by, earbuds in, coffee in hand. She paused, glancing at him, then at the badge on his hip. You lost, sir? No, he said. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. She gave a polite smile and kept walking. Inside the conference room, Drummond raised his voice. We cut bottom-tier support. We saved close to $80,000 this quarter. Do we really need janitors here past noon? Someone else replied, they're barely noticeable anyway. Isaac adjusted the clipboard on his knee, one hand resting gently on its worn edge. Still quiet. Still waiting. The room didn't know yet that the man outside the glass had access not just to keys, but to contracts. And deeds. At 7:38, the office manager arrived. Marlene. Late 40s, efficient, brisk, carrying 2 paper bags from the cafe downstairs. She spotted Isaac and stopped. Morning, she said, her tone careful. He nodded. Morning, Marlene. She blinked. Have we met? Once. Briefly. Last quarter's lease renewal. Her brows furrowed and for a second the gears turned behind her eyes. Then she forced a smile, pretending she remembered. Ah. Right? Sorry, Aya. It's fine. Marlene hesitated, glancing toward the conference room. They're in there now. Senior partners only. I know. She shifted her weight, sensing something off, unsure what role he played. Are you here to speak with someone? I can check, huh? No need, Isaac said, standing now. Calmly. No rush. Marlene took a small step back, suddenly unsure. Then Isaac opened the clipboard. Inside, a set of documents. Lease agreement. Building ownership records. The firm's signed tenant contract. He held it open just long enough for her to see the name on the deed. Isaac E. Thorne. Owner. Not maintenance. Not janitorial staff. Her face changed. Just slightly. Not panic, realization. Oh, she said. Isaac gave a faint nod. Yeah. Inside the conference room, someone laughed at a joke no one outside would ever hear. Drummond leaned back in his chair, gesturing at a spreadsheet. We'll review custodial hours after lunch. Maybe contract out night cleaning. Nobody needs to mop at dawn. The others chuckled. Isaac watched through the glass. Not angry. Just still. Marlene stood a few feet behind him. Silent now. Her eyes darting between Isaac and the room. She said nothing. At 7:42, a junior partner stepped out for a call. He glanced at Isaac, then at Marlene, confused. Everything okay? Marlene didn't answer right away. Isaac did. Would you let them know I'm ready to join them? The junior partner blinked. I think this meeting's just for equity partners. Tell them Isaac Thorne is here. The name didn't register at first, but when he repeated it, slower this time, the young man's posture shifted. Okay. One moment. He stepped back into the room. Through the glass, Isaac saw the confusion ripple across faces. Then the pause. The name sunk in. One of the men leaned forward, whispering to Drummond. Drummond looked up, straight at Isaac, and finally he stood. Drummond opened the glass door slowly. His face was tight, jaw set, like a man calculating how far off the mark he'd been. "Mr. Thorne," he said, voice suddenly formal. "We weren't expecting you this morning." "I know," Isaac replied, stepping forward. That was the point. A few of the other partners stood from their chairs, unsure whether to smile, apologize, or just disappear. None of them moved fast. Drummond gestured to an empty seat at the table. "Please, come in." Isaac didn't sit. He looked around the room, letting the silence settle. The same room where, just minutes ago, he'd been called non-essential. Barely noticeable. A line item to trim. Now all eyes were on him. "I heard there was discussion this morning about cutting back on janitorial staff," Isaac said. Calm. Direct. No one answered. Not right away. Drummond cleared his throat. "It was just an exploratory conversation." "I see," Isaac said. "Curious, since I don't recall being consulted on changes to staffing that affect property operations." Silence. Then Isaac opened the clipboard again and placed the lease agreement on the table. "Let's clarify a few things before you go any further." No one reached for the document. They just stared at it like it might say something different if they waited long enough. Isaac tapped the page lightly with one finger. "This building's lease agreement includes a facilities clause, Section 12B, to be exact. States that all building maintained services, including custodial contracts, remain under ownership control unless renegotiated." He paused. "You didn't renegotiate." Drummond tried to recover. "We assumed it fell under tenant discretionary." "You assumed wrong," Isaac said. No anger, just correction. Another partner leaned forward. "We weren't aware you were directly involved with the vendor selection." Isaac turned his eyes on him. "I am the vendor." The room went still again. "I started that cleaning company 18 years ago, before I bought this property, before I leased it to your firm. Some of the people you're discussing cutting have been with me longer than some of you have had law degrees." No one made eye contact. Isaac looked around the table, not for confrontation, but for clarity. "You pay for space," he said, "not for authority over the people who keep it running." Drummond shifted in his chair, finally realizing this wasn't about contracts anymore. It was about respect, and who they had chosen to ignore. For a long moment no one moved. Then one of the younger partners, thin, early 40s, good suit, bad posture, cleared his throat. "Mr. Thorne, I think it's fair to say, there was no ill intent." Isaac looked at him. "Intent's not the issue." He let that hang. "Invisibility is." The man shifted uncomfortably. Isaac continued. "You talk about cutting hours like you're trimming fat, as if the people who clean your offices don't notice the glances, the avoidance, the way no one uses their names." A silence settled over the room, heavy and honest. "You don't notice them," Isaac said. "But they notice you. They remember who leaves the mess, who never says good morning, who makes them wait in service elevators." No one denied it. Outside, the floor was coming to life. Phones ringing, meetings starting. But in this room, it was quiet. Isaac glanced down at the untouched lease. "You thought I was here to fix something," he said, eyes lifting back to them. "You were right." Then he closed the clipboard. "But not what you expected." Marlene had stepped just inside the room now, silent, watchful. The partners still hadn't found a way to respond. Words hovered in the air. Excuses, explanations, justifications, but none of them seemed safe to speak. Drummond finally stood again. "Mr. Thorne, Isaac, we clearly owe you." "You don't owe me," Isaac interrupted. "Calm. Even. You owe them." He nodded toward the hallway, toward the unseen crew who arrived before dawn, scrubbed restrooms, wiped down the tables these men used without a thought. A few of the partners exchanged uneasy glances. One shifted his papers just to avoid looking up. "You've built a place," Isaac said, "where the people who hold the walls together are treated like they don't exist. That's not just a culture problem, it's a leadership one." He paused, gaze steady. "I'm here to address both." Drummond looked like he wanted to push back, but there was nothing left to stand on. Isaac wasn't angry. He wasn't loud. But he was undeniable. And now undismissible. One of the partners, a woman with sharp features and a sharper voice, finally spoke up. We'd be open to revisiting the structure of the lease if needed, she offered, a touch too quickly. If that helps clarify roles. Isaac turned to her, expression unreadable. You think this is about clauses and structure? She faltered. Isaac reached for the whiteboard behind them, grabbed a red marker. The same one they'd used to outline cuts. He drew a simple line through the bullet point, janitorial budget cuts, Q4 proposal. Then, in neat handwriting beneath it, he wrote, respect is not a line item. No one said a word. He capped the marker and stepped back. This board tracks profits, losses, growth, but it's missing the only thing that keeps any of it from collapsing. He tapped the word he'd written. A few of them nodded slowly. The message was sinking in, not all the way, but enough. Isaac turned back to the table. I'm not here to embarrass anyone, but I won't let you operate like people are disposable just because they don't wear suits. Someone finally whispered, understood. For the first time that morning, Isaac believed they meant it. The silence that followed wasn't awkward. It was reflective. A few faces in the room had changed, not with shame, but with understanding. Slowly forming. Tentative. The woman who'd spoken earlier lowered her gaze to her notes, but this time didn't speak. Drummond cleared his throat again, softer now. What do you want us to do? Isaac didn't hesitate. Start seeing. He let the words sit. Not just numbers. Not just what fits the narrative of efficiency. See the people who get here before your lights are on. The ones who leave after your mess is gone. He paused, not dramatic, just measured. Start by learning their names. From the hallway, the muted sound of a vacuum cleaner started up. Routine. Distant. But in the quiet room, it sounded like something else now. An echo. One of the junior partners reached for his phone, thumb hovering, unsure if he was supposed to take notes or just sit with the discomfort. Isaac watched him. You're in law, he said. You believe in precedent. Set one. The door to the conference room stayed open now. No one rushed to close it. Outside, the usual morning pace continued. Phones rang, printers hummed, but something in the room had settled. Not peace exactly. More like wait. Isaac stepped back from the whiteboard and faced them one last time. I'm not pulling the lease, he said. Not today. Relief flickered across a few faces. But I am watching. Not a threat. A truth. You'll start seeing monthly reports on how support staff are treated. Not hours. Not costs. Just behavior. And those reports will be tied to your tenancy. It took them a second to process what that meant. Performance reviews for partners based on how they treat the invisible. One of the older partners let out a low breath, like someone realizing just how off course they drifted. Drummond gave a small nod. We'll make the changes. Isaac didn't smile. Just studied the room. Then he said it again, quieter this time. Start seeing. And turned toward the door. Isaac stepped out of the conference room. No one followed. Marlene watched him pass, her eyes wide, not with fear, but something closer to admiration. She didn't say anything, just gave a small nod. This time he nodded back. The hallway, once a blur of routine footsteps and passing glances, felt different. Not quieter, just more aware. The receptionist looked up from her desk, then quickly back down, pretending not to notice. But she did. And in turn by the copy machine straightened her posture and gave a small, uncertain good morning. Isaac returned it. Calm. Even. He passed a janitor near the elevators, a man pushing a mop cart with one headphone in. The man didn't recognize Isaac. Just nodded like coworkers do. Isaac paused. Morning, Reggie. The man blinked. Morning, he said, unsure. Then smiled. Didn't expect you back so soon. Thought I'd drop in. Everything okay? Isaac looked back down the hallway where the glass-walled conference room now stood in full view, partners seated, but changed. Still. Quiet. Yeah, he said. It's getting there. Isaac stepped into the elevator, Reggie still watching him, puzzled but smiling. As the doors closed, Isaac caught a glimpse, Drummond now standing, facing the whiteboard. Still reading the line Isaac had written. Respect is not a line item. The elevator hummed to life, smooth and silent. Downstairs, in the lobby, a different rhythm was unfolding. Associates greeting each other. Clients checking in. Background music playing low. Isaac walked past it all. As he neared the glass doors leading outside, someone called out from behind the front desk. Excuse me, sir, are you with building management? Isaac turned. It was a new face, young, professional, polite but uncertain. He thought about saying yes, then paused. No, he said. I'm the owner. The receptionist blinked, stunned, then nodded slowly. Of course. Sorry, I didn't know. Isaac just smiled. That's the thing, he said gently. Most people don't. And then he stepped outside, into the morning sun. That afternoon, in the conference room, the whiteboard stayed untouched. No one dared erase it. Drummond had spoken with Marlene about scheduling a meeting, not about budget cuts, but about staff introductions, names, roles. maybe even appreciation. By week's end, laminated placards appeared in the service hallways. Photos of custodial team members, their names, years of service. A gesture. Not everything, but something. Isaac didn't return that week. Didn't need to, but his presence stayed. In the way people paused before speaking. In how they looked longer at the man pushing the mop, or the woman emptying trash bins, saw them maybe for the first time. In the break room, someone asked Reggie how long he'd known Mr. Thorne. Long time, he said. But I didn't know he owned the place. The room went quiet. Reggie smiled. Didn't need to. And upstairs, on the 21st floor, a red line still cut through a bullet point. And below it, 5 words stayed untouched. Respect is not a line item.